Welcome to Field Notes with Rob and Chris, and I'm Chris Buccini.
And I'm Rob Buccini. Today, we're at the Chase Fieldhouse, joined by our good friend to talk about foundations, failures, and friendships formed, learned, and formed through sports. One of Villanova University's most celebrated graduates, Chris Heck, is the president of the Philadelphia 76ers.
In 2017, Chris became president of the Sixers, and under his guidance have sold the largest partnerships in team history and doubled the number of season ticket holders. Wow. Chris was also instrumental in helping us bring to life this very field house we are at today.
So early on, when this was a concept, we sat down with Chris Heck, and Chris totally got the importance of having the 76ers brand here and the Blue Coats brand here. So we sat down early, and I think one of the things that we were just talking about before the camera started rolling was the million fans that are in the state of Delaware and proximate to the state of Delaware, and how important you thought that was.
Yeah, I mean, when we were searching for that home for our G League team, our minor league affiliate of the Sixers, we wanted to A, be close to Philadelphia, and B, we wanted to use it as a marketing platform to expand our fan base. So if you guys remember, we were on this epic rebuild, and no team in pro sports. I don't know if I brag about this or I'm just like being honest with the experience that we went through, but we were the worst team in the entire world for 4 years. You know, and I am not exaggerating. And it was an epic rebuild, and it actually became known as trusting the process. So in that time, it gave us a chance to rethink what our fan base could look like and where they could live and how we could expand. So we started, very local, and then we decided like, hey, we noticed in a year that was a low year, we had over 50,000 tickets that were sold to people that lived in Delaware. And so that was kind of interesting. And so we saw the opportunity. And once I met you guys, then I knew this was a great sports town in Wilmington. And that's the truth. And living here and being a part of the community, it really gave us that kind of, or gave me, the light bulb went off. I'm saying like, well, we should try to do something special here. And thanks to you guys, it happened.
And it's been such a source of hometown pride here in the city of Wilmington. And obviously our company, I think when everyone gets out of bed in the morning, we're thinking, how do we move Wilmington forward? And hometown pride is probably the most critical component to moving the city forward. And the youth component here has been unbelievable. So not only do we have the best players playing basketball, and Doc Rivers at a game the other night, and so many great athletes.
Tyrese Maxey, he was there.
Maxey, I mean, what a great guy. There was 200 people in line for him to sign an autograph, and he signed every single autograph. Like, you could just, he was raised well, for sure, by his parents.
Yeah. This is an extension and a real part of the Philadelphia 76ers brand. And, the experiment or the thought has worked. Well, I mean, we sold out that game. Yeah. And it was, broke records for the championship run. And, most times in postseason in minor league sports, you're not able, because you don't have time to prepare, to really pack the house. Well, but this town did.
And to give you guys credit, I mean, the Sixers organization, under your leadership, you all moved to Camden. You moved your practice facility and your headquarters there, and really using the brand as a way to help economic development in an economically challenged area. And I think what we loved about partnering with you on this field house was we're adjacent to an economically challenged neighborhood, and really able to use the power of the brand of the Sixers and all you do for sports and for youth to really help us in our efforts to revitalize the city of Wilmington. So thank you all. And I think that the Sixers probably don't get enough credit for what you've done to Camden here in Wilmington.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. That's, it's been, I feel very fortunate that we have had this opportunity to go down the path. And to be honest with you, when you guys started this and the passion project that it became was contagious. And it really, particularly because I live here too. Yeah. We live very close to each other. And then
Chris, I had to get a ride home the other night.
That's true.
From the G League finals here. I text Chris, how I'm thinking to myself, how cool am I that I can text the president of the 76ers and ask him for a ride home, and he accepted.
I don't think that was the motive. I think it was about saving $15 from Uber.
That's right.
But that's okay. And it's true though. I've been here 9 years from the 76ers, and when we chose this community and meeting people like yourselves and Mike Hare and Mike Przicki, and you guys are my friends now, and we have built this relationship up, and it's very genuine and authentic, and I love what you have done here in this city. It's really quite remarkable. I'm very proud to be a part of it.
And we're super appreciative. Chris and I will have coffee on a Saturday morning, and I really have learned a lot about pro sports just from our coffee chats, and it's been really helpful from our company's ownership in the Philadelphia Union, just the kind of best in class what you all are doing in Philadelphia, kind of some of that, we're obviously not at the same price point and the same fan base, but it's been really helpful for me and kind of how I look at the Philadelphia Union. And I'm super, super appreciative of that.
And maybe before we talk a little bit about the impact of this facility and what y'all are doing on youth, I think one of the many reasons we love this partnership is Rob and I have been developing this city for over 25 years, right. And we're always looking for ways to really connect with our community. And so it's great that we've got these great credit card businesses and chemical jobs and law firms, but not everyone's going to work there, right? And so we wanted to create a facility that people that live in Wilmington can aspire to actually go within those walls. And so I think what better than sports, right?
Right.
Rob and I grew up, sports were sort of everything for us. It permeates the culture of our company. And for us to sort of be able to share that, maybe, I don't know, Rob, do you want to lead that off?
I mean, I think your and my high school coaches are as influential as anyone in our lives other than our parents. Bob Tattersall, Lee Sibley. I mean, these guys, you still hear them in the back of your head on the way into work, and the grit
coming through your football helmet.
Through your football, the grit. How you learn to have grit and be tenacious. I mean, there's no substitute. There's nothing in class that can teach you this. And I know Chris. A little known fact about Chris is he went to Villanova and was on the boxing team. He was originally recruited there to play lacrosse, and so obviously had the grit that it took to help sports get him into a great college. And I'm sure, Chris, and maybe you could elaborate this. When you can't give away a ticket, the team is on the descent, and you have to go to work every day and say, hey, to my team. Your staff, the team of your colleagues off the court, and say, how am I going to really make this work?
We had some times like that in our career.
We had
our own process.
It happens every 10 years in our office.
I'm feeling very old, but everyone's like, oh, back in the day it was great times. It actually was. Like, we had a blast because we were able to get, no one's watching us, right? When you're not succeeding, the spotlight wasn't on you.
Right.
So what we were able to do is reinvent and reimagine everything. And so we did it by energy and culture and bringing in people that were like-minded. And we had an absolute blast. We put a bell inside the office. We were actually in a medical office complex, and they were doing surgeries underneath us. And more times than I would like to share, I've been told to turn it down, right? And because we were loud and we were really happy, and the part of the culture was that, hey, let's root for each other. Let's actually celebrate the little victories as big as much as the big victories.
And the little victories are, at that time, we're selling packages of tickets.
Selling a package.
Right. I mean, it started with, was it more difficult, Chris, to sell individual and group tickets, or was the sponsorships more difficult, or was it just all
It was
a nightmare?
all difficult. But it was
you didn't have much
but
of a
like I
product
said,
to sell.
like, we were starting at the bottom. We were at the floor, at the basement, and we had an opportunity that every victory was a new victory.
Right.
And we were able just to rally each other, and we really enjoyed being around each other. And so there was like this incredible infectious energy. And I remember moving my office right out front because I wanted to hear, and I wanted people that I was meeting with to hear the celebration.
Right.
And I'm like, I grew up, like you guys, very loud household.
You're one of how many children?
I'm one of seven kids. And I can't have it quiet. I need it loud. And that brings life to the environment. And it was no different when we were trying to sell tickets and really entertain ourselves.
In our house with everyone yelling, and you don't really know you're yelling when you're yelling because that's just kind of part of being an Italian family, as you can see me with my hands. But we used to call that the Italian intercom. Like someone's on the second floor, you're in the basement, you're screaming. We call it the Italian intercom. So you had a lot of Italian intercom stuff going on.
Yes, when I grew up, we had a phone booth in our kitchen. True story.
Oh, wow.
And it was the only place that could be quiet because you could close the door.
Well, tell us a little bit about maybe your experiences in sports, both high school, college, that really helped you get through some of these dark early days. And Rob and I will talk a little bit more about the children you've raised are all incredible athletes. So clearly, I certainly know your wife is a great athlete.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they get her speed, right?
I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to talk about it. No, they've been great. They participate. They love the sports. My wife loves sports, and that has definitely been a nice help because I work, very long hours, and I'm very passionate about working in sports and what it means. And I think playing sports and communicating. My youngest son was on a basketball team this winter, a high school team, and they had this incredible communication with each other. And the reason was because they all play other sports with one another.
Right.
And I thought it was like their X factor.
That's cool.
And I just think that what a great life lesson, right? And it's also like occupying your time and finding a new skill and doing it with your friends or people that you don't even know and they can become friends. And it's just a nice, it's a nice outlet for us to grow as human beings. But also on what I do in really putting on a show, it's about spending great moments with your family and friends and that become memories, right? So that's the goal, is have them walking away remembering something that's special that happened to them.
And did you mention that they won the state championship? Did you just say that?
I didn't say that in.
So I'll brag for Chris. Chris's son, Gavin, he won the state championship. A small private school here, Tower Hill, beat the largest Catholic school, probably 6 times the amount of boys, 7 times the amount of boys per class, and in front of 6,000 fans down at the University of Delaware. Tower Hill came out. I don't think they missed a shot all game. They might have shot 100%.
Good passing.
And won by a lot.
Yeah. And by the way, he played a very small role in this, but this team was just great kids that love what they were doing, and they really, really enjoy each other.
Chris's older son, Peyton, has 2 national championships playing Villanova basketball. So we're thinking that bodes well for you in your day job, Chris, here at the Sixers this year.
Yeah, they've good, good timing. It means a lot.
Gavin served this up to you.
Yeah.
To go deep in
Listen,
the playoffs.
I think we have a pretty special team. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. It's so hard to win at any level, I think, and so you enjoy all the little victories as they come.
Well, it's funny. In some ways, you're saying during the dark days at the Sixers when you first took over, it's almost like you have no expectations, right? So you can have a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
And here you are now. You're one of the top teams in the NBA.
Yeah, we reinvented ourselves.
Yeah. So there's a different stress level.
No, it was a lot of stress, and you kind of were dismissed. And there's a lot of funny stories that went along, and people just it was almost an embarrassment that I worked for them. I didn't feel embarrassed. I think others felt embarrassed talking to me about it. Yeah. But it comes and goes with success, and I think that what it was is that you have pride in what you do, no matter what it is, and you believe in yourself. That there's better days ahead.
Sure,
and so, when it's okay, like to go through that fight. As a matter of fact, it just makes the journey that much more special.
Well, I would say that I think one of the reasons we asked you to join us today, in addition to being such a great friend that both of us, in particular Rob, is Rob and I, if we had to think about one thing that's probably the most important foundationally to our company, the Buccini Polling Group, in the last 25 years, is the fact that we both played high school sports,
Right.
college sports, and a lot of the people at BPG have played sports at a high level. But really, we've been knocked on our butt a lot. I started working with Rob
We're
for
in
9/11.
We're in a business that's very cyclical, and it gets very, very humbling often. At least every eight years there's a major correction in the markets that we're in. And I always think what I draw from is the rejection in high school and college sports. You have a massive correction in the capital markets in our business. All of a sudden, there's no liquidity, so it becomes hard to refinance projects, and when you go home at night and you feel like you've been beaten on all day, most nights, the thing that you always go back to is when you were benched for dropping a pass. And I remember when I was a junior, dropped a pass that should have been a touchdown in the end zone against Yale, and you think to yourself, I let the whole team down. And then in 2008, when we had the great financial crisis, the Great Recession, I remember I was in one of the hotels of ours, and one of our housekeepers came up to me and said, "Rob, if I lose my job, I'll lose my house." And that really resonated with me, kind of the importance. And I do think from being an athlete that just worked harder to get on the field than just because my limitation athletically were here, or I didn't have great ability. But the thing to me most importantly is learn how to just outwork people. And so I think about the housekeeper, and I remember saying, "I promise you, it will be if anything bad happens, it will be not for lack of effort." And then as we come into whatever's happening in the world right now with the Ukrainian war and massive inflation, you feel today that we can handle it just because we know how to handle a crisis and stress. And I always say we're going to pull out our playbook, our crisis management playbook, and
Well, it's interesting because I remember during the pandemic we spent a lot of time talking to each other, and that you guys were open for business, and being brave enough to do that, and you were essential.
Our wives kicked us out of our
Well,
respective
that's
houses. Literally, it was the same day. Both wives,
get
after
it.
about 2 weeks, go back to work.
and we were closed for 2
No,
weeks.
but it's true. Like it was good because you don't, and everyone's like apprehensive and cautious, and you were able to get the entire group motivated to go back and to face. And it worked out. And you guys had the faith and the comfort that it would work out.
I think you nailed it, though, when you talked a little bit about the dark days of the process, right?
Yeah.
And you said to believe in yourself. And I think, having Rob and I led from the front through
Right.
9/11, the GFC, through COVID,
Yeah.
there are dark days when you just have to say, okay, guess what? I believe in all the training
Sure.
that brought me up there. I believe in, those double sessions of football in August. When you're getting
Right,
beat up
right.
in practice, like I'm ready for this. And when other people are telling you, what are you doing? That's the wrong thing. And you have conviction.
Right.
I think that's how we choose to lead our business. And that's sort of what always really in every tough time, I think we've actually come out of it stronger.
For sure. And being the president of the Sixers, being the president of our company, Chris and I, it's like you're the captain of the team, right? And so you do as what a captain should do. That's leading from the front. So I just remember early on when we closed our offices down, there weren't as many people in the offices. And so I and Chris, we went out to job sites, or we went out to a property and an apartment building that we had in Philadelphia to make sure that the staff there felt comfortable, that it wasn't going to turn into a cruise ship where COVID had spread throughout the building, go into the hotels that we had, wherever it was, literally get in the car in the morning and just showing up and just being a comfortable person or a comforting person to be with.
And, you know, it's funny, at the time we didn't realize it, but I just think in our DNA, we care deeply about equality.
Yeah.
And so we didn't like the fact that, you know, we have about close to 1,000 employees in the city of Wilmington alone, and the facilities team and the engineers and the property management, they had to show up every day.
Right.
And we had, you know, a few hundred construction people, they had to show up every day. And so for us, the reason we all came back to the office in June of 20 was we said, all right, well, it's an equality issue. If those people are our frontline responders, we all got to be their shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
And so,
and this place became, for me personally, my comfort zone. You know, I'd start the day here in the gym with Chris and a bunch of young guys.
You're here a little more than me.
A bunch of young guys.
Well, I'll say this, that I mean, I think, you know, we all have kids that, and that were in high school or middle school ages, and I had, you know, they were having a really tough time, and it was brutal. So they're stuck in, they're not playing sports. They're not going to school. They're not socializing. Forget about like social distancing. They're locked in. And you had the field house open. And we did, I remember all the precautions that were made, and it was a real safe environment. And you were the first ones that did it. And by the way, no one followed for a while. And it was our haven to come here. And with your partners here at Titus, as well as, you know, the basketball and,
all this
and volleyball
BPG
here.
sports.
Like, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I mean, the
Cavalier.
The team here that operates the facility, it really was the greatest sense of normalcy there was, at least in the state of Delaware. You could drop your children off. You know, we had professional athletes. You know, we had the Troy Readers of the world here. You know, today I think you'll have Darnell Savage come through the doors to work out. You had really the world-class athletes, and then you had youth athletes. And the one
we had
thing,
our 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, 12-year-old boys were here. And this is, I think, what allowed them to come out of COVID in a really normal, you know, fashion, where they were able to come here, run around, play sports, and, you know, socialize in a safe setting.
I'm going to use that as an opportunity to really talk about BPG Sports, which Rob runs and is deeply passionate about. And, you know, college friend once told me, you got to turn lemons into lemonade, right? And so we do that all the time. And I think one of the things was from COVID, really, BPG Sports came out. And talk maybe a little bit about where we are with Sporting Delaware and Brotherly Love and how thousands of kids.
So during COVID and any, obviously, crisis, you know, we say internally, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, right? So you see a dislocation in many, many things that we deal with. And so the sports business was a business that was dramatically affected. Philadelphia Union, Philadelphia 76ers, revenue plummeted because there's no one coming through the door. There's a lot of sponsors who didn't want to pay their contractual sponsorship obligations because they said, well, there's no fans in the arena. You know, why should I pay? Why should I pay? I deeply appreciate the Sixers paying the rent here, even though you
never.
Even
By
though
the way, like,
even though it was lightly
we were
used.
able to actually improve.
Yes,
we actually grew our business,
and
not ticket sales, like
at
huge
the
component.
at the Sixers.
Yeah, at the Sixers, and we had sponsorship. We were able to improve, and the reason was like we had to reinvent ourselves again. It's constant reinventing. And you were doing the same thing here.
At Sporting Delaware, we started Sporting Delaware in the beginning of the pandemic for soccer, which grew to 600 players. We have 3 top 20 soccer teams in the country. We merged in 302 lacrosse with our Phantoms lacrosse program and Brotherly Love. It's another 650 player lacrosse club. You know, we have these elite programs that are based here. That have incredible coaches, an unbelievable staff, great marketing departments, and really have been able to grow that business in a time where other people were retrenching or people were, you know, cautious. The thing about a crisis is a terrible thing to waste motto is that's in our business when we really push down on the gas and accelerate things. So when there's people that are taking a step back, we always find that's when we lean in the most.
And I think the cool thing is what we're trying to do here is not just create youth sports, right, or platforms, but really, as Rob said, create some of the best youth sports teams in America, and on a national level. And it's working at the soccer side.
cross side.
Look,
Basketball, we have
kicking
unbelievable
in.
basketball here.
Unbelievable basketball. So really,
Volleyball.
a lot of what we do, whether it's on an office building, an apartment building, a restaurant, maybe it's a James Beard nominee restaurant, is really how do we turn Wilmington and Delaware into the best small city in America, the best state in America, constantly putting, so people are like, wait a second, how is this team from Delaware so good?
Right.
Or why did the Sixers choose, of all the places they could have put their G League team, why did they put the Blue Coats in Wilmington? And so it's working.
Yeah.
It's really working.
Well, it's also you guys had you've had concerts here. You've had also with the Atlantic 10 basketball tournament, the women's tournament. I mean, the high schools. It's really interesting to watch because I'm watching it all the time, and not because of Blue Coats exclusively, but also because I'm in the community. And when the high school kids are all saying like, "Oh, I get to play at the Fieldhouse," it's a big deal. Or they get to practice indoors because it's too cold or rainy or whatever. It's a big deal. Like this facility is so spectacular. If you even go to the pro, I know it's the #1 facility in the G League.
Really?
If you go, it's 100%.
That's awesome.
And that is like not debatable.
Yeah.
But if you go around and even look at the pro markets and their practice facilities and things like that, this is unmatched. Like this is spectacular.
One of the great months we had was we came to the Sixers. You had your blue-white scrimmage here, and then a few days later, the Philadelphia Union was here practicing. This is their indoor practice facility, and so again, just if you're in this market, the ability to go to a Sixers game here or watch a Union practice, I mean, how cool is that?
It's pro sports. And what I love is when Rob and I first started our work here in the city of Wilmington, people just say, nights and weekends, it's just empty. And the interesting thing the last 24 months we're seeing is nights and weekends, it's busy downtown. And one of those reasons is we're really attracting some of the top youth sports tournaments in America every weekend, or many weekends throughout the year. And so we're now bringing people in from Portland, Oregon, LA, San Francisco, Boston, Miami, and they're all coming in because we're all, sort of crazy sports dads, and we'll go anywhere for our kids' sports. And it's bringing people here, and it's filling up hotels and restaurants and putting, sort of the Wilmington Renaissance on the map.
That's one of the things I don't think I fully appreciated, Chris, because when we sat down to iron out the deal to build this, I never fully appreciated the quality of the athlete that would then come to play here. And, that's really great for, again, hometown pride. It's great for all the young players in the city to look up to. Bones last night had a great game. Playing for Denver last night, and what that means, he works out here, he trains with Lamar, he's in Titus, before the draft, and what that means is that, you're 100 yards away from Southbridge. If I'm a basketball player in Southbridge, I mean, how inspiring is that for me to look at a guy like Bones?
And I don't think, it means that you have to be an elite athlete.
For sure.
It means that you care about it and you want to be around something special, and maybe that does make you your path a little bit more passionate to follow. And I think this is a very aspirational place, and it's proven in a very short time.
But what I love is in business, people often think that success comes overnight, and I always say, the Wilmington success story is a 25-year-old overnight. But had you and the Sixers not chosen to come and made the leap to come to Wilmington, this building would not be built today. You are the anchor that allows it to happen. Had this then not been built, there are many things that wouldn't have happened. But one of them is, BPG has really turned into a sports-anchored mixed-use developer. We're already a mixed-use developer where we could come in, we could do apartments and office and hotels. But now, because of you, we did this. We had already done the Philly Union in Chester. We've got a big billion-dollar project in Pittsburgh anchored by the Penguins. And so it's just funny how these steps along the way, they all build. And so it's a great, I think, business advice for all the business people out there or aspiring entrepreneurs out there.
And I think it all starts with relationships and wanting to surround yourself with like-minded people or people that really lift you up as well. And
you want to be around people you like.
Exactly, and it runs true, and this is a great example of that.
And the other thing you said and I think this is maybe one of the important things as we close out, is that not everyone's going to be in the NFL or the NBA. And, as you mentioned, what's really great about sports is that, if you don't make it there, which 0.001% of the players that participate in youth sports make to the pros, it teaches you about grit, time management, working hard, and the importance of teamwork. So,
and I would say, I think one of the things Rob and I both have learned from sports is when you get knocked on your butt, you get right up, and when you knock someone on their butt, you give them a hand, you help them up. And I think that's sort of good foundation to sort of who we are at BPJ.
But Chris, thank you so much for being with us today. It was an honor.
No, the honor's all mine, and I love our partnership, as you can tell.
I do.
And it's authentic, and that's why this works.
Thanks, pal. We appreciate it. Thank you for your friendship.
Chris. Really, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us today. For more information on sporting events, camps, and the BPG sports experience, visit thechasefieldhouse.com.
And make sure to follow us on social media at Buccini Poland and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you the next time on Field Notes with Rob and Chris.